Alright, y'all, welcome back to another Outriders build. This one is the best Pyro build. I don't care what anyone else says or what clickbait title may or may not be on the feed. This one, I think, just checks all the boxes, and I'm going to go ahead and explain why after I give you the build itself. But if you guys enjoy Outriders content, looter shooters in general, be sure to subscribe, take that bell so you do not miss any future uploads, and of course, swing by a live stream sometime. We do gold, Eye of the Storm carries, helps, and advice all day long. So if you're involved and want to be involved, you can find that down in the description as well, so come swing by a stream. Let's start with the build itself, and we'll talk about why I think it's the best build shortly after. Now, we're all bottom tree right now. We're working with the Tempest, and I'm a big fan of this because you get Anomaly and Cooldown. You're going to have Burst. We work with Wildfire for more cooldown, Extinction for a bit burst of the weaker enemies, and of course, Fire and Anomaly is going to really help keep up with your damage, and this should be up pretty much permanently throughout a run. Phoenix Nestling is something I'm a big fan of. I know a lot of people kind of, sidestep past this, and I feel like Emergency Stance has given us a lot of extra strength and confidence in our aggressiveness, and even with Emergency Stance, I'm a big fan of this mod, and I love this perk, and I want to recommend this to everybody, and it's your call whether or not you want to go into Phoenix as well, but I think this is absolutely amazing, and it's going to do nothing but add to the value of this build after Emergency Stance is nerfed, and that is coming soon, and then everything else is what you should expect. As for the skills, I'm working with Heatwave, which we'll have 3 of them, Eruption, which we will have 2 or 3, your choice, and Thermal Bomb, we will have 2 of them. Heatwave and Thermal Bomb will act as small sources of damage, crowd control, and ultimately they are debuffs, not only for myself, but for my entire squad. Then Eruption's where our burst comes from. This is going to allow me to carry people, something that a lot of other builds will not let me to do in the debuff range. This is going to allow me to do solos confidently. I'm a big fan of Eruption, not a fan of the 20-second cooldown, but if you can deal with that, it's absolutely amazing. So you just got to be smart with how you use these things. Now, over to the build, we are working with the Funeral Pyre and the Death Shield combination. These are pretty much iconic with any Anomaly build because they each have a perk that complements the other extremely well. So you're looking for Shadow Comment, and if they're 2 different weapons and you stagger them and trade them back and forth and weapon swap, you can keep sending out just a constant barrage of comments, which is amazing. And then Fortress is an overall 43% damage bonus based on your armor. But fortunately, as long as you're level 50, you're already past that threshold, so you're doing 43% more damage no matter what kind of damage you're putting out. So whether or not it's your heat wave, your guns, whatever, this is doing 43% more damage, and it's amazing. So I'm rocking the 3-piece Acari, and the 3-piece bonus grants you every enemy damaged by heat wave, grants 50% anomaly power bonus for 10 seconds. And this is honestly kind of the template to work with most anomaly builds for the Pyro. And again, you're looking for anomaly power as a main attribute. Secondary should probably be cooldown reduction, in my opinion, and then it would be status power or skills life leech. And we got a decent balance of all of those inside of this build. I have Fire Tsunami, which is native to the helmet of Acari. This thing just gets wider, right? It's thicker, it's wider. You're going to hit more targets, therefore get that extra 50% anomaly power based on targets hit. It's something that's huge for this build. I've got Giga Blast on. Eruption increases the skill's radius by 100%. And the crazy thing about Eruption is even when you see the larger explosion, it's reaching out further than you can visually see. And anybody that's spent some time with an Eruption build will notice that this thing will pretty much clear almost an entire wide lane. And when you learn to adjust to the spawns, Giga Blast is hands down the most valuable mod on an Eruption build. And I know a lot of people are fans of Debris and other ones. I don't see it because this thing works at further ranges than people give it credit for, and I think it's a must-have for this build. I chose it over having a 3rd Eruption, and that's got to say something, right? Moving over to the armor piece right here, I've got Branded. Now, this is where our first set of debuffs come in. So any enemy hit by a Thermal Bomb, as long as I have this Tier 3 mod on, will receive 40% more damage. Now, that's not just for me. I'm not just hitting it 40% harder. My buddies are doing it. The neighbors, allergies are hitting the enemies that I target with Thermal Bomb 40% harder. The cool thing is it stacks. So if I have 2 Thermal Bombs, like on a boss, for example, that's 80% more damage from all sources that it'll be taking. Huge debuff option there that works for the entire squad, not just myself. Tidal Wave stacks on my 2nd Heat Wave. Moving on down, Anomaly Echo comes natural on the Waistcloth of Acari. It's a great mod. You're going to keep it up permanently. There are probably a couple other options I would prefer here, but there's not much I can do with it because the secondary mod is just useless for this build, so I have to keep that one on. I have my 3rd and final Heat Wave on the pants. For my gloves, I've got Fire Frenzy. This gives me the additional Thermal Bomb, so I'm rocking 2 of those. Pompeii gives me my 2nd Eruption. I'm rocking 2 of those. The gloves, I have Burnt Out. Now, this is the big other option for debuff right here. So Heat Wave, damaged enemies take 25% more damage for 8 seconds. This stacks. So you get a lot of burst. That's 75% more on top of the potentially 80 if you double up your thermal bombs on one target. We're doing 150-ish% more damage to bosses. Makes it great for Eye of the Storm, makes it great for any squad play, and it just eliminates elites of all kinds, shapes, and caliber. And it's absolutely amazing. And then I have Emergency Stance on, which is the go-to survival because it's currently bugged. But even when it is fixed, it's still going to be amazing. You may need to opt something out and push something out. Maybe get rid of another Eruption or a Heat Wave or something, reduce it in some way and put on Damage Absorber or something. But I don't think you're going to need to. Again, you have Phoenix there as a buffer, and I think I am a big fan of the combination of Phoenix and Emergency Stance. And I'm going to keep this build as it is, but if you want to get more aggressive, you can easily squeeze Emergency Stance out, keep Phoenix on, maybe put on the extra node there so you get the better cooldown on Phoenix, and then slap a third Eruption on here if you want. So you could go 3-3-2 with Heatwave, Eruption, and Thermal Bomb. So let's talk about why this is probably the best build in the game. Yeah, I might have let that slip. Yes, I think this is the best build in the game. I know a lot of people are like, what about the burst of the blighted rounds? What about the double debuff, the triple debuff? Whoa! So my issue with a lot of Pyro builds is a lot of them are good in like 80% of situations, right? You've got the overheat builds that slam boom towns in 3 minutes. That's very freaking impressive. When just a couple weeks ago, we thought Pyros wouldn't even be in-game capable. And then they come out being one of the fastest, arguably the fastest speed running option in the game. And that's amazing, but those don't translate well into squad plays. Those don't do well on certain maps. So almost every one of the popular builds has an area that it's really significantly slow or just not very feasible whatsoever. And that's why I think I like this one. So people are like, why don't you go for a triple debuff? Hit 200% debuff. And I'm not saying 200% debuff isn't sexy, right? That's amazing. But I feel like that's overkill. Anybody that's used this combination, this build right here, will notice that what I'm putting on with the double thermal bomb and the triple heat wave, that's more than enough to allow myself and my teammates to just decimate things. I'm talking like 2 bursting from a techno. I don't care what it is. And they just get erased. Eye of the Storm boss, you gack for the 90th time, no big deal. And 1 debuff Pyro is all it takes. It's the most essential thing to speed runs for harder difficulties or a lot of congested areas with elites, because these debuffs really make a difference. They make your enemies just completely vulnerable to the strength of your partners. And that's what makes it great. That's what makes Pyro shine, is because of its debuff capabilities. And not only do I have 2 sources of debuff that I can spread out evenly or bulk down on one boss, but more importantly, the double Eruption comes in play for me. So I actually add a considerable amount of hurt on the enemy. Now, I know a lot of people get turned off by the 20% or the 20-second cooldown, and I get you guys. I'm right there with you. I want more volcanoes if I can. And truth be told, when you learn the spawns, when you learn the rotations, I can make 2 last. When I'm dealing with alphas or something, I can hit them with a singular or double debuff and then nuke them once and they're dead. And I can save my next one for the next wave, right? Group them up and kill them, because the cool thing about Eruption, especially with Giga Blast, is that it actually does a lot more damage to wider areas than you see. A lot of people just see, oh, that's where the volcano is, that's all it's hurting. You got to add in a bunch of extra space, because it's going to be doing a lot more damage than most people recognize. And I think it's really great because the distance is further out than people think. And people like always wanted to build it up to debris doing that damage. And I'm like, it's not debris, dude. It's just how strong Eruptions are with that radius enhancement there. And they're amazing. So I can code an entire area and proc the 20-second cooldown. I can save them for a boss. But even then, the Heat Wave combination with Comet to keep me in that dry period or the downtime is pretty good. So I feel very confident with this build, and I don't really think in overall capacity you can top what this build does. Like I said, you can go for 200% debuff, but where's your damage coming from? You have to entirely rely on your teammates. So what happens when you want to carry a friend to 30 or help them through CT15s? And you may not be able to get golds that you want because you're not actually contributing to that much damage. They need to be able to hold their own to really do that kind of stuff. So I think this build stands out because it can do solo CT15 smoothly, efficiently, right? It can do squad play at a level that almost no other thing in this game can contribute because of the debuff capabilities and its burst from things like Eruption or Phaser Beam. Then you go a step further and you have what you have for Eye of the Storm carries, right? It's huge for in-game for a lot of people. So there is no weakness to this build. Other ones have areas where they slow down or may not be that viable. This one simply does not. It's great for carries, it's great for solos, it's great for squads, it's great for Eye of the Storms, it's good for everything. And that is why this is the best build in the game, in my opinion. And nobody's going to shake that because I've experimented with a lot of these. So that is my opinion. You guys are more than welcome to build on this, try to alter it, or do whatever you can. If you got any additions or ways you think this build can be better, share it in the comments down below, guys. Let me know what you would do differently. But as of right now, this is the last, like, good build that I'm going to put together for this, and I'll probably put together some more legendary ones, like the lava set or something. But this is the one-stop shop. This is what I think everybody should be aiming for. If you really want burst and utility in any type of playstyle so you never have to swap your gear or change mods, this right here is the one you want. So thanks for watching, guys. Please leave a like if you got this far. It means a lot to me. Thanks for the support. I'll catch you with another video soon.